hate making pre-recorded videos. They're so weird because there's like literally nobody behind the camera right now. There's not a chat room for me to look at and respond to. I'm talking to myself in my living room with my cats roaming around. So let's talk about public speaking. I'm not an expert in public speaking, I just pretend to be one on the internet. So 3 times a year, I have to speak in front of a crowd of anywhere from 100 to 300 people talking about branding and marketing, and I'm freaking out in my head and they have no idea. I have social anxiety. I am an introvert, so the second I finish my speech, I go back to my office and I shut my door and I put my headphones on and I tune everybody out because holy cow, I just talked to a room full of 200 people. Basically, you know, it's scary. So you probably don't think of Twitch or YouTube, Facebook Live, any of the streaming platforms as something where you need to know public speaking because, hey, you're just hanging out with your viewers, right? But it's important that your viewers can understand the words you're saying. So enunciating is a key thing in public speaking. That's, you know, your words are pronounced properly. And sure, you're going to pronounce words differently, especially if you're from different regions. I say the words egg and measure apparently wrong. I've had people make fun of me for the way I say things. But I'm from Missouri and I'm like, that's cool, I don't care, whatever. Enunciating so your viewers can understand the words you're saying is super key because sure, you might have like closed caption option on your screen. Those closed captions rely on you enunciating your words because if you don't, you're gonna get something crazy and it's not gonna be worth having your closed captions. So a lot of things that I struggle with in public speaking or in a kind of a public forum, if I'm in a meeting or something, is I fidget a lot. I need something to do with my hands because I'm nervous, and if I'm nervous, I'm going to be, you know, playing with my fingers and it's going to be noticeable. So a lot of times when I go to a meeting, I will take a coffee cup with me. So pretend this is a coffee cup. I will sit there at the table or desk and just kind of hold on to my cup. And occasionally I might move my fingers around, and at most you might hear my rings make noise on my cup, which can be distracting, so I try to be careful. But if I'm holding my cup and moving my fingers around, it is way less noticeable than if I'm sitting there like, this is distracting me, this is making me feel comfortable. My coffee cup is like my safety blanket. So when I do my public speaking at events for work, I will usually have a paper with me that has my notes on it and I can refer to those and know what I'm talking about. And that gives me something to distract myself. If I lose my place, I have something to look at. So it's obvious, oh hey, she's checking her notes. But holding that paper gives me something. And then I'll usually have a PowerPoint behind me. So extra fidgeting, I'm turning around pointing at things and they don't realize I'm actually just pointing because I'm really uncomfortable right now and I need something to do with my hands. Eye contact. Make eye contact with your camera. I have the notes for this video right below my camera. So you might see me glance down, but all I gotta do is glance and then right back at the camera and I have eye contact with you who are watching this video. I'm staring into your soul. Eye contact is super important because when you're live streaming, it gives your viewers the feel of more of a connection. Hey guys, how's it doing today? Oh, hey guys. Thanks for that tip, yeah. I'm just sitting here playing my video game, typing along. This is something I helped my husband with. I was like, hey, you don't look at the camera when you talk to chat, and it's a little weird. And I realized he was looking over at the other screen when he would talk to chat. So there was a little bit of what I felt was like a disconnect where here's chat visually, but here's where he's reading chat. So I said, hey, why don't you bring your chat window underneath your camera? Instead of staring directly into your camera while you're playing your games. So that way, you know, you're playing your games and you're looking over here. But then you're like, oh, hey, so-and-so, thank you for that tip. I really appreciate that. So now he's looking at chat directly under the camera. So he can make that eye contact without having to be like, oh, hey, so-and-so, thank you for that tip of $25. I really appreciate that. You know, it feels more one-on-one, like we're actually interacting with people are in chat when we're looking at the camera. Pausing to make a point for emphasis, because if you're like telling a dramatic story and then it got even more dramatic because I paused. What happened then? But know your lengths. You know, the difference between talking to chat and being dramatic is different than if you're talking to a crowd. Because if you're in a room full of people and you do a dramatic pause, you're going to hear those awkward noises where people are shuffling in their seats or coughing, sneezing, or, you know, maybe you pause for the right amount of time and somebody's like, what happened? You get a response when you're in, but when you're in chat, you're talking to chat, you've got to kind of regulate your pause so you don't end up with a super awkward pause. Too long? Do you think that was too long? I feel like that was too long of a pause. Was it too awkward? Because let's not do that. Something I like to do a lot is use humor. I'm not comfortable in serious moments, so I have this tendency when somebody is feeling down or they're sad about something, my thought is, let me say something to help you and make you feel better because, funny joke, awkward moment, you're not sad anymore. Okay, let's move on. Projecting confidence. I am projecting confidence. I am telling you guys, I am not a public speaker. I am not comfortable where I am, but I have something important to tell you. I'm not an expert in this field at all, but I do this 3 times a year. I have to get up in front of a crowd and talk about why branding is important, the ways you can market yourselves using newsletters, using social media, using a website. It's important to leverage yourself with marketing and branding, and I am projecting confidence to you because I know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about my field, but I also prepared ahead of time so that I can project confidence while still freaking out in my head. Something that really annoys me is when people use filler words. Filler words are like, so, and I'm guilty of this. I use the word so a lot, or anyway, but, and I use words like so and but because they're a lot more acceptable when you're talking about something, saying, so this is why I do it this way, but I could do it this way. Those are words I use and I elongate them because they're my filler words and they're not as unusual as, I like to do it this way, but you could do it this way. And do kind of make you sound less knowledgeable, and I work really hard to keep the words and out of my vocabulary. I do catch myself using them occasionally, and it's just really hard to cut those out completely, but listen to yourself. I actually watched a video of myself from my presentation for work earlier this summer, and I could probably count on one hand the number of times I said When I used the word I was in the middle of trying to transition a thought, so I started off this speaking session with saying, hey, I need these items from you guys. I'm going to send a basket around, and I want these items all in this basket by the time I'm done speaking. And then between that and getting up to the podium, because I already had the mic in my hand, so I wasn't even on stage yet. I got up to the podium, and I laid my notes down. I'm like, okay. So for me, it wasn't so much a filler word at that time as a, let me redirect my thinking now and get back on focus from, this is what I'm asking you for now, this is what we're talking about. So sometimes and can be a transitional word, but if you use it too often, it's just filler. So one of the reasons I'm uncomfortable with public speaking is when I was little, I had a lisp. I had trouble with the S's and TH's. I would often get them switched. I worked through with a speech therapist to adjust that as a kid, and one of the things that helped me was, my speech is super. My oldest sister gave me that phrase. She told me just to say, my speech is super, and it helped me probably more than my speech therapist did, because I was in a room full of kids that, had some kind of speech impediment or something going on, that she was working with all of us, and you can only do so much as a teacher. Teachers are amazing. When I get stressed or too anxious, my lisp comes out. And because when I'm doing public speaking, I'm stressed and anxious, so I'm just consciously thinking, don't lisp. And I will go into a room thinking, my speech is super, my speech is super. Just thinking it helps me. And you wouldn't even know I had one without me telling you that I had a speech impediment as a kid, and even as an adult, I still work through to make sure it doesn't slip out in times of stress. So keywords for public speaking, talking on Twitch, doing a video on YouTube, whatever you're doing, something recorded where you're talking to people, is enunciate your words. Speak clearly. Second thing, don't use filler words, because it just makes you sound like you don't know what you're talking about. It gives away how nervous you might be. If you need to stop and kind of think about it, sometimes I'll just go silent while I'm thinking and people think I'm angry, but it's just me processing without trying to say filler words. Third thing is eye contact. Look at your crowd, look at your chat, because that eye contact gives an emotional connection of, I'm talking to you right now. You. Humor. I like humor. Humor is not necessary. If it's not your personality, leave it out. But it can make you feel comfortable and kind of ease a tense moment. Number 5, project confidence. Make them think you know what you're doing. You and me together, guys. Let's, hey, what did the muffin say to the other muffin in the oven? Hey, it's hot in here. Talking muffin.